What's your best story that is 100% real but nobody believes you? When I was in elementary school, my brother and I were walking home from school after it had rained all day. He started reaching his hand in all the puddles. I asked him what he was doing. Sometimes there's money in these. 3 or 4 puddles later, he pulled out a $20 bill. Not sure if he ganked it from somewhere else and planted it or it was legit. Either way, I now check puddles for treasures when there are no witnesses. Story 2. When I was 15 years old, I was in my kitchen, home alone, cutting a pineapple. There was a fly that was buzzing around my face for the past 2 minutes, and it was getting really annoying. So, just for the heck of it, out of pure blind rage, I grabbed my knife and swung it at the fly in midair. I sliced the fly in half, sliced it in half. After I did that, I immediately realized no one would ever believe me. Story 3. On the way to visit a friend, my husband and I got lost on a highway in Pennsylvania. By some weird chance, my husband's friend drives past us in the opposite direction. We see him and turn around to catch up to him. Finally pulling over, we are standing on the side of the road, 2-lane highway, discussing the directions to the friend's house. Surrounding us are farms with corn and other various crops. Out of nowhere, a duck appears on the opposite side of the road. He is looking at us curiously while we are talking. We watch him look both ways and waddle across the road to where we are standing. Cars are honking at him as they attempt to drive past. He gets over to my husband, pecks at his shoe once, and then promptly walks back across the street, dodging cars traveling at highway speed. He made it back across the street and disappeared into the crops. He risked his life to peck my husband's shoe and simply waddled out of our lives. Story 4. He was the best companion farmer Fred ever had. When Fred fell off his tractor and crushed his pelvic bone, he sent Dwayne his trusty duck to get help. Dwayne came back with no help. Fred cursed his pet duck. Fred died a slow, painful death, only second in pain to the voice of his wife and his conscience telling him, "A duck! Really, Fred? You should have just gotten a dog like every other normal person." Story 5. How I ended up with my dog. I was on my way to the bus when I saw this dog calmly walking about. He approached me, I petted him a bit, and went on my way. For some reason, he kept on following me. There were other people around us, but he kept on walking behind me. The bus station is by a busy street. I hoped to shake him off by the time I got there, but no. I wasn't sure what would happen if I got on the bus. Would he run after it? Would he hop on the bus? The stop I intended to hop off on is another heavily trafficked place. Neither of the options looked good, so I did the only thing I could think of. I headed home. On the way, I called my dad and told him a dog was following me. He laughed, thinking it was my way of trying to skip school. He went along with it, though, promising to drive us to the nearby dog shelter. Imagine his surprise when I come home with a dog. So, we drive to the dog shelter where we have to turn him in. A week or so later, we get a call saying that no one had claimed the dog or reported him missing. My dad wanted a dog. Different breed, though. But seeing as this fellow had followed me around, he figured, "Welp, this is the dog." Story 6. I was in Sao Paulo, Brazil on a business trip. The night before departure, I wanted a drink, but the lounge of the hotel was closed for a private party. I didn't want to go out of the building alone at that time, so I started talking to one of the private guards. Then this lady came closer and asked if there are problems. I explained her I was hoping to get a drink but didn't want to bother. She started talking in a very good English. I can speak enough Portuguese to get by, but I'm definitely not fluent, and explained to me it was a party after a wedding. She was older than me, probably late 40s, but very good looking. She asked me if I wanted to join her upstairs for a drink, and she brought me to her room. We spent 30 minutes banging on every possible surface until she told me she had to go back to the lounge. I asked her why the hurry, and she told me she was the mother of the bride. Story 7. I was watching a minor league game and asked Deion Sanders for a hello. That was it. He waved me off, and I was about 7, and somehow, what a prima donna came out of my mouth. The look on his face when he stared at me was priceless. Fast forward, and he is ending his career with Dallas, and I am waiting for a flight out. He has a huge posse holding up the line, so I yell, "What prima donna is holding up the damn line?" His posse parts, and he looks at me, and then a hint of recognition hits his face. And he goes back to talking to the ticket lady with a quizzical look on his face. Story 8. I was walking down my driveway to wait for the school bus in middle school, and I noticed a cute little fawn maybe 10 yards away. I live in a wooded area. I was just thinking how cute this little guy was when its mother comes crashing through the woods, headbutts my hip, and then hauls ass back through the trees with its baby. I had a bruise on my hip for a week, and no one would believe how I got it. Story 9. When I was about 16, I was in a restaurant in Melbourne with my cousin. I noticed a young guy eating with his family. I said to my cousin, "Haha, hey, look, it's Harry Potter." because of his similarities to Daniel Radcliffe. My cousin replied, that is Harry Potter. He was in Australia shooting an Aussie film. A bit later, I went to the toilet to pee. Whilst I was at the urinal, Daniel came in and began to pee in the urinal next to me. I looked over at him and we made eye contact, and he said, "Nice wand finished," washed his hands and walked out. No one has ever believed this, and only my cousin can vouch for the fact that we saw him, but not for what he said in the toilet. Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter, told me I had a nice wand whilst we were urinating next to each other. Story 10. When I was little, my younger brother and I were always staying with babysitters during the day. This one time, we were with the same babysitter for a few months. As soon as we got to her house, I would hang me and my brother's coat on the coat hangers that were strategically placed right before the basement stairs. My brother was too little to reach the coat hangers, so I would have to hang his for him. Well, one day he got this stubborn idea that he wanted to hang his own coat. I remember being nervous, but I let him try anyway. He picks the hanger that is the closest one possible to the top of the basement stairs. As he is on his tiptoes, struggling to reach the hanger, he all of a sudden falls over and down the basement stairs. The babysitter heard him crying, then accused me of pushing my baby brother down the stairs. She told my mom about it later. To this day, no one believes me that I didn't do it. I would never hurt my little brother.